Welcome, everybody, to Straight Shooter Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 5. I'm one of your hosts, Santi. How you doing, Steve?
I am fantastic, Santi. Sorry, guys, for the delay on this video. We had a bit of a mix-up last week, but we're back. Episode 5, finally. We've seen some good traction on the videos, so we'll let you know if this keeps going.
Yeah, no, we have an exciting, tight, condensed show. We're not going to be going 2 hours, hour and a half tonight. We're going to try to keep this as tight and as condensed as possible for your viewing and listening pleasures. But Steve, what is our topic of the show to get people ready and excited for a few minutes from now when we get into that?
Like I said, Santi, our topic for the show tonight is greatest heels.
Cool.
We're going to talk about heels WWE, heels AEW, WCW, NWA, New Japan, whoever you were able to pull out of the hat. But yeah, we're going to talk about heels tonight.
Yeah, but before we get into the topic of the show, as always, we're going to start off the show with a little bit of wrestling news. There's nothing in the docket. Before the show started, I was like, I wouldn't have any wrestling news. Nothing's really going on. And Steve goes, should we talk about the egg? And I emphatically just said, God, I don't want to talk about this stupid golden egg, Steve. What a dumb, stupid storyline. And yet, you know what's sad? It required this dumb, stupid storyline for Sami Zayn to finally get a world title shot. I don't get it. And it took this storyline to make Austin Theory feel relevant and important. Why? I don't. What is this writing? What is this creative process? This stupid motherfucking golden egg. That's all I have to say.
I cannot believe this is where Vince has gone just to make an extra buck, or well, at least $1 million extra bucks. Because when I found out what they did to actually like get that storyline in to WWE, and then the fact that they somehow got Vince McMahon to show his face on TV for an egg. Come on, man.
Yeah, I was telling Steve that I felt like this whole egg storyline, which included all of this like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson vignettes at Survivor Series along with the Rock Memorial Battle Royal, it just felt like WWE was just obsessing over an ex-girlfriend. And The Rock was just like not interested at all in participating in any of these shenanigans. If anyone could have pulled off this ridiculous golden egg storyline, ironically, is The Rock.
Well, it's funny because I saw a quote from somebody on the internet. I'm not going to quote who it was because I have no idea, to be honest. But it was Tony Khan doesn't promote CM Punk at all. CM Punk shows up to AEW. WWE promotes The Rock at Survivor Series for 4 weeks, and we don't get The Rock. You know what? Fuck you, WWE. Fuck you.
It was the biggest case of blue balls I felt in a real long time with this product, but. All right, you know what? I digress. I don't have anything else in terms of wrestling news that I'd like to talk about. So, Steve, why don't we get into some viewer questions? I know that we pulled up one of the viewer questions from over on the Discord. Link in the description of this video if you want to join the after show, really, where we talk wrestling over on the Discord in the professional wrestling section. Steve, who is our question from, and what is that question?
Our question is from Kevlar. Kevlar, thank you for sending this one in. And I really like this question, Santi. It is, out of all the young talent in WWE at the moment, who would benefit the most from being the next the next Paul Heyman guy?
Okay.
So,
I want to jump. You know what? No, I'm not going to jump in yet. I've got a very different opinion here. I want to actually hear yours first.
I was going to throw it on you. Okay. Obviously, the clear-cut choice right now is Austin Theory. Clear-cut. They've pretty much, and it kind of leads us into the topic of the show, but I'm not going to go there yet. Austin Theory being kind of put into this storyline with Vince McMahon right now, like we saw on Raw, is kind of a clear indication that they see something in Austin Theory in the near future. I think the backstage knowledge that some talent like Zelina Vega, Liv Morgan. And those are two that really come to mind that have come out publicly saying that Paul Heyman has been a real influence and someone who has really put themselves out there for those two talent. Like, I think Austin Theory could really benefit more from being next to Paul Heyman instead of actually talking and being on camera with a selfie with a golden egg. You know what I mean? It almost feels like a Chris Masters and oh god, there's another person I'm thinking of. A first Bobby Lashley run. Like, it feels like that, where they've kind of let the talent go do their thing and they floundered horribly. Who was the one? Tyler Breeze. Feels like another Tyler Breeze situation. Like, what are they doing? They're letting this guy go out and act like an idiot, and he's gonna bury himself. So I really think Austin Theory. And honestly, I can't think of the name of the kid, but what's his name from NXT? Steiner's kid.
Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker. Honestly, shut the guy up. Stop sounding like your dad. Let Paul Heyman talk for you. In 2 years, you're going to be the Universal Champion going over on Roman. Those are my two.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I need to back up for a second before I say anything before I put my foot in my mouth. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think that wrestling fans have romanticized the idea of the Paul Heyman guy. So, what do I mean by that? Okay, can we put it out there real quick? Who are Paul Heyman guys, Steve? Who are Paul Heyman guys?
Brock Lesnar, CM Punk.
Okay. So why is CM Punk a Paul Heyman guy and why is Brock Lesnar a Paul Heyman guy? Because I feel they're Paul Heyman guys for different reasons. Because I see Brock Lesnar as a Paul Heyman guy because Paul Heyman is next to him in storyline. That wasn't really so much the case with CM Punk. He was considered a Paul Heyman guy before the storyline with Paul Heyman that included Brock Lesnar. So I'm also just very confused as to what the concept of a Paul Heyman guy even means, because people can make the argument that Stunning Steve Austin is a Paul Heyman guy out of ECW, right? So what is a Paul Heyman guy? Is a Paul Heyman guy somebody that he manages or somebody that he mentors behind the scenes? Because if we're thinking the former, so somebody that he manages, there haven't been that many successful cases outside of Brock Lesnar. There is Brock Lesnar. After Brock Lesnar, who was there? The Big Show, already established, didn't need Paul Heyman. After that, we had like the Rob Van Dam a little bit with ECW One Night Stand. Didn't need him. After that, we had Cesaro. And then after that, we had Mr. Perfect's kid, Michael McGillicuddy. I forgot his Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel. So the resume of the Paul Heyman guy, when we talk about like in TV Paul Heyman guy, is not great. But then you list some names there: the CM Punk, Selena Vega. These are behind the scenes. We're getting Paul Heyman, not Paul Heyman. Yes. Right? So I want to understand what wrestling fans mean by a Paul Heyman guy.
I think we're looking at the in general carry the bill. Like, obviously the mentorship from the back, but what we did see a lot, great. Don't get me wrong, Punk was great on the mic. He didn't really need Heyman, but it was almost like that build up before Punk was actually given the mic from Heyman. It's almost like with what Paul's doing with Roman right now, he's carrying the bill, but he knows where his limits are with Roman, and Roman is like, okay, microphone, you've talked enough. You've kind of missed the point here. And they're kind of giving that balance to Roman being a Paul Heyman guy, but we all know that Roman at this point doesn't really need Heyman. So I think what wrestling fans want is that who can Paul Heyman take, promote, bill, and draw money?
Okay, so I've got some thoughts on that. a couple of the most successful keep calling them Brock Lesnar guy, Paul Heyman guys, I don't think needed Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar would have been a fucking megastar without Paul Heyman.
I disagree.
I disagree all you. I just think that the man, even though wasn't the greatest on the mic, he was one of those that actions just spoke louder than words. And this was early 2000s. He's the Vince McMahon guy. Like, that guy was going to the moon, whether fans wanted it or not. Roman Reigns, did he need Paul Heyman? I think he enhances the character,
yes,
but I don't think that I don't see Roman as a Paul Heyman guy. I see Roman as a fantastic talent who just happens to have Paul Heyman next to him. So this is what I mean, like the idea of, like, I just feel like people have romanticized the idea of, like, oh, if Paul Heyman gets next to a guy and puts his backing behind him, he's going to the moon. But there are so many examples where, like, that just hasn't been the case. And then there's also, like, backstage Roman Reigns guys, like oh my goodness, Aleister Black was a well-known guy that, like, Paul Heyman wanted to push. Ricochet, another guy that Paul Heyman wanted to push. Nothing. I'm telling you, the idea of the Paul Heyman guy is this romanticized idea of, like, the next big thing, right? And I think that for every successful Paul Heyman guy, there's 5 that failed.
All right, I'm gonna put a part B into this question.
Hold on, before you do that, I'm gonna give you an answer to the question, because
you actually have one.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You literally took it out of my mouth. Chris Masters, the masterpiece from mid 2000s, 2006, could have greatly benefited, and he kind of had a little bit of a Paul Heyman beside him in the name of Carlito.
Yeah,
Carlito carried Chris Masters for like a 6-month run with his charisma. Yeah. If he had someone like a Paul Heyman, we could have been talking about Chris Masters being that 5-time world champion, because he was the prototypical Vince guy, and he was very close to winning that world championship at New Year's Revolution against John. But that's the famous Edge cash and all that stuff. But that was the main event. Carlito and Chris Masters were the ones who stole the show in that chamber match. Anyways, I digress. That's my answer, Chris Masters.
No, and I do completely agree with you, because Chris Masters was the total package, but just like Brock Lesnar, and you mentioned it before, Chris Masters and Brock Lesnar are the total packages, but they can't cut a promo for their life. Like, they either don't have the voice for it, they don't have the focus for it, and Paul Heyman would have been great to just carry and help build. But my part 2 to this question, I was just thinking while we were talking, what about we move away from the Paul Heyman guy and we find our first Paul Heyman girl or woman? Now, who would you think in the locker room currently could benefit either NXT or main roster? Who would benefit the most to be a Paul Heyman girl?
It's a fantastic question. There's a couple that are coming to mind. I think first of all, like, in my head, I'm already thinking of, like, how cartoonishly hilarious it would have been if Paul Heyman was with Hit Row. I think that would have been super funny. Tell me that's not creative gold.
That would have been a, like, what's his name when he played in oh god, Jesus, I'm losing. I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti when he played in the 1990s rap one with Ice
I know
Cube.
Exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Straight out of Compton.
Straight out of Compton, yeah. So anyways, females, I think somebody like a Bailey would have been a great Paul Heyman person, especially like, obviously, like, post heel turn, because I think she has a great character, this heel Bailey. There is something slightly missing there, that it factor, and I think somebody like a Paul Heyman could potentially bring that out of her. So that's the first one that immediately just sort of comes to mind. That would be Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey was honestly, while I was thinking about the question, Bailey was my first because you're exactly right. There is something missing in the Bailey character.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think out of the 4 horsewomen, she's the one that's really lost a lot out of. Obviously, the injury doesn't help.
Yeah.
But she really is lacking. Like, we talk about it, it's really Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how it goes. You can flip Becky and Charlotte, but at the end of the day, that's how it goes. I was thinking about, and I'm missing her name. You might have it. NXT UK.
Tony
she's just
Storm?
come. No, she's just come over. She's the Scottish. Kylie Ray.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I know Kylie Ray.
Is that the one I'm talking about? She was like the longest reigning women's NXT UK champion.
I'm blanking here. I'm blanking here. Keep talking. I'll look this up.
Yeah, so she has a awesome heel persona, but I really think she would benefit with
Kylie Ray. Yeah,
Kylie Ray.
Yeah,
I really think she's just got that grittiness, kind of like Lesnar has. Like, she doesn't need to talk. She's got that menacing, like, persona. Very Drew McIntyre-ish. But there's just something dark about her, and I think she could really feed off of Paul Heyman. And I think she could actually demolish the women's division with her entire in-ring persona. Like, her ability. So I just think Bailey or her.
What about somebody who struggled literally because of their lack of being able to speak English, like a Shinsuke Nakamura?
No, okay. The only reason I say no, I do see where you're coming from. I just see that getting very gimmicky with Nakamura speaking to Heyman in Japanese and Paul Heyman trying to rebuttal in like fake Japanese. I could see that getting very gimmicky, just like the gimmick with Roman. Oh, my tribal chief. He's like the court jester.
Yeah.
You know, they've really made him the court jester, and I can see it going that way. But I think Nakamura needs something.
It's not Rick Boogs.
It's not Rick Boogs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that, and it's not, facing Happy Corbin for 30 straight weeks on Friday Night SmackDown. But Steve, I think it is time for us to jump into topic of the show. And as we set it up a little bit earlier, we are going to be talking greatest heels of all time. I'm looking at my list. It is very, very WWE heavy. I'm happy to talk AEW. I am happy to talk NXT. I am happy to talk WCW. I'm happy to talk Impact. Happy to talk all promotions. But we are just talking about the greatest heels in wrestling. Can we just get the greatest one out of the way? Vince McMahon. Can we? Yeah, like I think
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a clear cut. Doesn't even matter what promotion. I mean, honestly, I don't think it even matters what type of entertainment. I think that Vince McMahon is the greatest bad guy in entertainment, movies, television, professional wrestling. I don't think it gets more diabolical than Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
My dude, I agree with you tenfold. Vince is the GOAT when it comes to being a heel. Greatest
ECW champion of all time. Greatest ECW with that black headband.
I forgot about that. Oh man. Every time I think of Vince McMahon as a heel, I think about when he showed up as like the Great Keeper or whatever he was under that like cloak. It's me, Austin. Oh, it's just me. Like, oh god, that's the first thing I think of every time.
I would. Okay, you know what? Like, why don't we name a favorite Vince moment? I would say that my favorite heel Vince moment was when he and Shane McMahon took on Shawn Michaels, but they got to pick his tag team partner, and they picked God. So God's entrance was just a spotlight coming down the ramp. Like that. Like, this is the creative that we're missing today. Like, that is hilarious. That is so funny. And that is such a great heel move to pick God, because the joke was that, you know, the storyline was that Shawn Michaels was actually a pretty terrible human person. But then he found God. So Vince is like, all right, your tag team partner is God since he's so helpful to you. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's my favorite Vincent Kennedy McMahon moment.
I'm going to bring up a sore spot with a lot of wrestling fans, but my favorite Vince McMahon moment is when they tried to kill off Mr. McMahon.
Dude, it could have been a good storyline. Obviously, poor timing, but I think it could have been an interesting storyline.
Timing.
Oh, literally the worst. Yes, literally the worst.
Timing. But honestly, that is my favorite moment because obviously, due to horrendous timing, Vince McMahon shows back up next week on show, walking perfectly fine. But this guy last week was in an explosive limousine accident. Like, honestly, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. All right, let's get into, I guess, like the real list of runner-ups, because I don't think anyone is going to top Vincent K. McMahon. And I'm just gonna look. Okay, so I broke down my list by, of course, like the wrestler, but then I also put the era, like specifically, like what years I'm talking about specifically, because at the top of my list is The Rock. And there are several iterations of heel Rock, but I went with Rock 2003, post Scorpion King, coming back for that like Hollywood rock feel when he changed his theme song. Like his entrance, Titantron was like the LA
Hollywood,
lights, the Hollywood, and like his song was no longer this like, it was just a subtle, he's cooking.
Yeah.
And that whole like it was like a 5-month stretch that we had him when he came back and No Way Out and then did the job for Goldberg on his way out was masterful heel work. Like I genuinely on a monthly basis find myself watching 2003 Rock promos because they have me gut busting laughing. That is when we got the Rock concerts, the funny ones, not the crappy one that he did in like 2012. I'm talking like I'm talking like he is roasting the ever living hell out of every city that he's in, roasting everybody that he's in a feud with. Heel 2003 Rock is so near and dear to my heart in terms of making me fall in love with what is professional wrestling, which isn't just the work in the ring, but the work that he was putting in backstage promos, roasting Cole, roasting the coach, roasting JR and Jerry the King Lawler. The thing is, Dwayne The Rock Johnson 2003 was a heel to everyone. If you were a heel, he was still a heel to you. It didn't matter. He was better than you. There was no aligning with The Rock. He just had this sense of superiority over everyone, and he carried it with every step that he took, and it's by far my favorite character in all of wrestling.
That's big. That's a big shout.
That's
a big shout. I'll honestly, I think I'm gonna take it away from you because I think one of your favorite lines in wrestling history came during that heel run in Toronto. Chirping the Leafs.
It's so good, man.
God.
I am the jabroni beaten, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, stronger than a bear, faster than a buck, the biggest thing to hit Canada because the Toronto Maple Leafs suck. I have that promo tattooed in my brain, folks. That is just how much of an impact he made on me. Ever since The Rock came into town, everybody's tried to bring him down. I have it all tattooed in my brain.
That's
that
amazing.
Is how much I love 2003 Hollywood Rock.
No, that's amazing. And I'm gonna piggyback on that because I do too have The Rock definitely up there. But I'm gonna go where The Rock really came into his own, and I think the world really started seeing early on that this guy could be a superstar in anything he did. And I'm gonna go to The Rock when he was in The Nation. But The Nation was already a heel faction, right? But then you started seeing the cracks in The Nation, and that was from The Rock becoming a double heel.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a heel in a heel faction. And like I think his little subtle cues back then in what was it, 97, 98, something around there, he was like so subtle, like when they would stand at the rope and the nation would put up their arms and then the Rock would come up late.
Mm-hmm.
Those certain things, or he would stand ahead of Farouk just slightly, or he would just like answer the question when it was addressed to Farouk. And it's just like, oh, buddy, this guy's got something. Like, I wish I was my age now back then to really be able to digest what we're watching. Like, and be able to take money and put stock into this guy. Because truly, like, back then is really where you saw, like, the most electrifying man really start to come out, right? And I thought his work back then was awesome. Taking the mick out of the Hart Foundation, and really that work in that feud was like incredible. So no, you're completely right with 03 Rock being quite possibly one of the best characters, but you really saw kind of that if it was this day and age, it would be NXT developmental, but to another level.
Oh yeah. There's no one in NXT that could compare to like that level of development that The Rock had once he stopped the Rocky Maivia shtick.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it has to be organic. It cannot be written. I mean, yeah, you can write it, but can the person have the proper body language and charisma to deliver, like you said, the subtle nuances? Because anybody could turn heel on their faction by grabbing the mic and talking and saying the script, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, the subtleness of the raising the arm late, just the angles at which he, just something as simple as just where he stood, you could start to see like that, like the younger lion, I'm hungry, I'm going to take over this. So I'm with you. I like Nation of Domination. There's no Rock that I don't like, except smiling Rocky Maivia in circa 1995. I don't think anybody likes that. But like, there's no bad. There's no bad The Rock. There's no bad The Rock. All right. You take next one.
I'm going to your boy, man. I'm going to Jericho.
Nice. Yes, I have him on my list. Yeah.
I'm going to Jericho.
Yeah.
Because I knew you'd have him.
Yeah.
Which
one? Which one?
Here's the thing. You're not going to like the way I'm going with this.
Okay, hit me.
Jericho, New Millennia.
Okay.
Honestly, the way he entered, because he really wasn't a heel then, and he really wasn't a face. He just came in and almost, just like Booker T, got buried by The Rock, like, right away. Like, that first segment, you're like, you know who Jericho is, but Vince literally had The Rock just shoot him down. But luckily, the professional that Jericho is was able to combat. But you really saw, going through that 99 into 2000, you really saw Jericho begin the whole, like, that Intercontinental title run. Wasn't that against China?
Yeah, it was.
So he, like, his ability on the mic to really push that boundary. Granted, it was 2000s, so shit was still allowed to be said. But like 2000 Jericho pushing those limits, pushing those boundaries, and then obviously going away for a little bit with the injury, coming back in 02. It's Jericho for me, I think, never became a face. That's a really big shout.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm with you. I'm going to put him in the same vein as The Rock in that I don't think that there is a bad Chris Jericho. I don't think that there is a bad one. My personal favorites are, do you understand what I am saying to you? Slow, methodical, suit-wearing Jericho in 2007, and Le Champion over on AEW are my two favorite heel Jerichos. But like you said, Jericho could be face, but he's still just Like when he's doing like the Festival of Friendship, like he's kind of face, but like it's just like hilarious shit that a heel would do. Like the list of Jericho, man, like there's so many great heel Jerichos. There's not a bad one. There's not a single bad one.
No, I agree. And even right now, like his work right now with his faction in AEW, like they are technically a heel faction.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw a biker faction that was a face faction? Never.
Right. Yeah.
Even the Aces and Eights, they were so over, but they were still heels. So yeah, no, go on. All right, your next one.
All right, my next one is I'm gonna actually grab two here since I'm going into the NXT pool. I am going Kevin Owens in NXT, like his original blood feud with Sami Zayn, and for the same reason, Tommaso Ciampa in his blood feud against Johnny Gargano. I think that NXT hasn't come close to replicating the magic that those two were able to. And here's the thing: it's tough to replicate because these two, the heel turns and the blood feuds came from years of on-screen friendship that they were tarnishing, right? Yeah. And that's very rare. We got that with like Seth Rollins turning on the Shield. We don't get those opportunities very often. There's very few that are left right now. One of them being somebody in the New Day, right? So it's a slow build that WWE nowadays doesn't have the patience for. They don't have the patience for. So I don't know when we'll see another one of these friendship, like blood curdling feuds again, because WWE is moving at 5,000 kilometers an hour, and if they're not moving, they're firing you.
Yeah, and I'm just going to jump back at something you quickly said just to kind of give an idea of how long the friendships were. Sami Zayn and KO came up as teenagers, you know? Tommaso and Gargano came up early in the indies with each other. The reference you made with the Shield is slightly correct on screen. Yes, we saw them together for like 5 years, but before that, those guys weren't together. Moxley was indies, Roman was being molded in developmental, and Rollins was indies, but in a different area, you know? So, yeah, that heel turn was never expected, the way they did it, but, you know, it's how it happened. But the blood feud, the actual genuine animosity that they must have said in the meeting when they said, we're going down this storyline, go find all the shit that he's done to you, and let it come here. Bring it forward. And, like, Vince, draw me money, you know? So, I really think, like, what you said about KO, and again, like we've said with Jericho and Rock, okay, well, at least with Jericho, has Owens really ever gone face?
Yeah, you're right,
You know?
Yeah.
Owens has always been heel, but he's been that likable heel. I've always been a KO fan. I think his in-ring work's incredible. His mic skills he's actually one of the only guys on the roster that doesn't have to cut a promo written. He's trusted, you know. Tommaso, I think he's done all he can do in NXT, and I beg for him to come to main roster, but they'll ruin him.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose what they have, because I think like his new entrance, his persona with like Goldie's back. The only thing that matters to him. Yeah. And like just it's that look. Yeah. It's that dead look. Unless he's looking at the title, then his body's alive. Right. And it's almost like Triple H. With the hammer.
With the hammer, yeah, absolutely. Now, what I will say is I want to give a huge shout out to WWE production with these heel turns, because with both of these heel turns, and they're very, very fresh in my mind, they did something that they don't do very often, is when they fake out the audience at home by doing the like, thanks for coming, folks, and then they put the little WWE logo in the bottom right, because you know, like when that logo comes on, it's over. Nothing is coming on afterwards. That's why, like, for example, at Survivor Series, you're waiting for The Rock, and then the logo came up, and you're like, nothing's happening here. So in both of those heel turns, the logo came up, and you had Sami Zayn carrying Kevin Owens carrying Sami Zayn after his title win, and then in the Tommaso Ciampa and Gargano one, they had just lost the tag titles. They're looking at the audience together, hugging, and then the little thing at the bottom, it's over here, it's ending, and then it goes for another 3 minutes.
Yeah,
the great psych outs from WWE.
Great storytelling, and like, you know how I am with storytelling.
Yeah,
like, it was near perfect.
Yeah.
All right, I'm actually, the wording I just said goes into my next one. I'm gonna take out 2 as well. And I'm going with era. I'm not going with kind of joined, but even though they were at one point, I'm going with Ted DiBiase and Mr. Perfect.
Interesting. Ted DiBiase original or the son?
No, the original.
All right, just checking.
The original.
Just checking.
I just found when I was a kid, every time I heard their music, I got angry. And I think that's the genuine reaction you need as a kid or a fan. When you hear the music, you don't even want to watch the show anymore, but you're going to sit there and do it anyways.
Yeah.
And every time Mr. Perfect came out, and this was before like real vignettes started happening, he had them.
Yeah,
and they
catching
had him,
his own
like,
football.
Yeah. And like the backwards basketball shot
yeah.
where you could see the ladder in the corner dropping the ball in. You know, like those ones, the spitting of the gum, the towel behind the back. And then Ted DiBiase being that manager that could really, at that time of the day, always be able to like just get under your skin. And again, like I said to a couple of them, guys that never really went face.
Mm-hmm.
They were just born to be heels.
Yeah.
Even Ted DiBiase now, like in his real life, he's a preacher.
Yeah.
But when he comes into NXT, he's still a piece of shit.
Yeah,
you know?
and even when he was facing that Cameron Grimes feud, he was still a heel. Like, he just finds it, like, it's so hilarious. What I will say about those two, and it's something that, again, it's one of those things that, like, if you try to manufacture it, people see right through it. So let me give you 2 examples. So, like, the genuine heel heat that you felt as a child was because, oh my God, these guys are the worst types of humans. How could anybody like these two? Compare that, and that's heel heat. Compare that to the heel heat of somebody like a Vicky Guerrero, who is just getting heel heat because she's annoying, right? Like, that's not proper storytelling heel heat. That is, I just don't want you on my screen, and that's not good for business. You want a heel to be on screen because you want to see them lose.
Yeah, and I'll jump to that point because we're not really we're talking more likely or more than ever best heels of all time. So I'm going to say it genuinely real, like, heel heat. Like, Baron Corbin is not, for me, real heel heat.
That's not heel heat. You don't want him on the screen.
No, just go away.
Yeah, that's not heel heat. Yeah.
You know, some wrestling fans might say he draws the exact heat, you know? Now, again, this might be one because I think you find him entertaining. I fucking hate him.
Who?
The Miz.
Yeah, like I'm whenever I say I love The Miz, I'm kind of like using hyperbole. I'm not a massive fan of The Miz. I think he's very similar in the sense of like that Baron Corbin, like, fuck dude, get off the screen. But at the same time, like, he's far better than a Baron Corbin. Like, let's not put them in the same bucket here.
But he's still an ex-world champion. That's the thing.
So is Jinder Mahal. Who cares? Who cares what a world champion is at this point?
Real heel heat or fake heat?
Oh, that's fake heat. Of course.
Jinder?
Yeah, Jinder's fake heat. That's not real heat. Like, Jinder's run as heel, like, if you look back on it, like, they just went with the classic like, I'm a foreigner and you're all racist, and even though you're all racist, I'm gonna be racist to Nakamura by making fun of his accent. Like, that is not creative. That is not heel heat. It is the low-hanging fruit that they went for when And that's very, very common in bad heels, where like they just go for that low hanging fruit. Sometimes going for the low hanging fruit works and it becomes part of your character, like Mick Foley shouting out the city, right?
Yeah.
But like if anyone else does that, everyone sees through it. Like that's fucking cheap. That's a cheap pop. Literally, it's called the cheap pop. There's cheap heel heat, and I feel like most of Jinder's run was cheap heel heat. As much as I liked it, Jinder's run hilariously, just because it was just so bizarre. It was just like, what?
No, it wasn't bizarre. We all know why Jinder got his run.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia showed up. They needed a guy from over there to be wearing the title or be going in there with the title. Hate me in the comments all you want. That's
I'm not gonna
the only reason he got a title run.
I'm not touching that one. I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. But
I got one more.
Go for it.
MJF.
MJF is fantastic.
Real heel heat or heel?
I think that's real heel heat.
But so why is not the Miz?
Because he's better at delivering this. He's better at delivering, and he's so much better in the ring than the Miz. And like there, I see where you're coming from, especially after last week's promo that you're just a less famous Miz that CM Punk said to MJF. But like, I mean, perfect promo. Do you think you can swap the Miz and MJF and have the same promo between him and Punk? No. Absolutely no way. Not a chance. Not a chance. I understand the parallels, the like cocky, like I'm better than you, like be quiet, shut up. When my hand goes up, you go shut. They have similarities. They have similarities, but they have similarities in the same way that a Corvette and a Toyota have similarities, in that they're both cars. They're both wrestlers. They're both heels, but the Corvette's way better. MJF is way better.
What about in 10 years?
Dude, in 10 years, MJF is it's not even going to be close. Like in terms, I think I don't think it's even a discussion. MJF should not even be put in the same breath as the Miz. He is a less famous Miz because for now, or maybe forever. I mean, like, Miz is very famous. Like he's got his own show. He's got Dancing with the Stars. He's on WWE television.
I'm pretty sure there was a line. Didn't you come 9th in that?
I don't know, dude. But anyways, I digress. I'm gonna take next turn here.
Go.
All right. I'm gonna actually take a little bit of a step back of somebody who is not a greatest of all time, but had lightning in a bottle for like the 6 months that they let him loose, and that is Carlito, who we just talked about. I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool, like the spitting the apple in people's face. The one, he was unbelievable in the ring for that time. The colognes, like he brought that Puerto Rican cologne style to WWE in 2006, in a time where, you know, we had John Cena, right? And I know you're not the biggest fan of the guy. I am, but I just felt like it was just such a special run that we had with Carlito. And he's one of those characters like, can you put a world title on this type of gimmick, on this type of character? I don't know if you ever needed it, but I just felt like the promos that he was cutting, the feuds that he had with people like John Cena, Ric Flair, were just stellar. His play on the mic, his shtick again with the apple were just so memorable. Obviously, I know Carlito's not going to be put in the same breath in terms of like all-time like professional wrestler. I just feel that like that 1.5-year run where WWE let Carlito loose is really special. Special.
I will agree that he had a bit of lightning in a bottle. It might have been like a early summer morning storm, but like he had something. For me, I think it was wrong time. I think they put him up against too big of a mountain to climb in the John Cena feud. I think
he's the one that took the US title off Cena. I mean, then he went on to win the world title, but
this is what I mean. He took the US title just so Cena could go get a world title.
Fair.
You know? And I think that's where Carlito was always going to plateau. If it was WCW, a guy on a mic with good creative, he could have worn that title. So the gimmick was great. I think he needed just a little bit more of an edge. But other than that, like I agree. Like he had a good run.
All right, who you got?
Can we go back to real wrestlers now?
Sure, we can go back to real wrestlers.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh,
the Macho Man.
I hate that everybody thinks that they can do a good Macho Man.
I can't do a good Macho Man. It was close. It was close, but whatever. No. Again, another guy that really never got a face run. In either side, it was either NWO Macho Man or Macho Man that was anti-Hogan,
or Spider-Man Macho Man.
Oh my god! I can't believe you brought that up. Jesus,
that's his greatest match of all time.
But no, like Macho Man, because his real life personality kind of drifted into his wrestling, because he was that, you know, it was all about Elizabeth. And we've seen the documentary, the Hogan thing, and about how Randy never really let her out of his sights. And you really got the idea back then that, like, you know, like, this guy's a little psycho for his wife. Like, there's got to be some at-home domestic abuse type thing. That's how you felt watching, you know, when Hogan lifted Elizabeth and you touch my wife type thing, you know? I know you, Hogan. You want Elizabeth, you want my wife, you know? And
no, Randy, it's not like that, Randy. Oh my god.
Yeah. And like the ultimate beings or the ultimate power, that shake in the hands. You knew Randy was never really about it. And then obviously when he left WWE, that there was heat there, you know? So I think Randy was a great heel. I wish Vince would have stopped worrying about his age and just let him go. Imagine Vince back then saying to Ric Flair, "Nah, I'm going to put you on color commentary because of your age." Come on, man. Randy had so much more left in the business.
Speaking of color commentary, I got two for you that weren't even on my list. Bobby Heenan.
He was on mine.
Jerry the King Lawler.
Both were on my list.
Yeah, like I'm glad that we had that transition and that they're both that we both agree on those. Like for hilarious. Like they're just so funny. Like it's just so funny listening to them be so clearly wrong in terms of like defending the heel. But they just like refuse to back down from their awful opinions. And nowadays we've got Corey Graves kind of attempting it, is not doing a great job. Pat McAfee is kind of bringing it back.
Pat McAfee has brought back announcers to a whole new level. WWE, you know what? I'm going to clip this. WWE, give Pat McAfee whatever he wants.
Please.
Do not ever lose Pat McAfee. Please. Like, god damn, that man is a legend. Now, let's really go into it. Legend heels.
Legend heels? Okay, who do you have in mind?
You said Vince was a wash.
Yeah.
There is only one other heel that I can personally think about that is a true wash. Hunter.
I have him on my list, and I was going to ask you.
Okay.
I was going to ask you, which era of Hunter do we have here? Do we just have Hunter? Like, or do you feel like there are certain eras of Hunter that are better than others? I'm curious what you think.
There are definitely certain eras of Hunter that are better, but Hunter in general.
Yeah.
Hunter has Hunter Hearst Helmsley, you know, coming out in the 1700s era trousers with the butt flap and the white tie up. Great heel. Everyone hated him. Never thought he was going to go anywhere. Then we went into kind of original DX.
Pre-DX. DX. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we went into the McMahon Helmsley era. My favorite era. I loved it. I loved the whole take the daughter, the boss's daughter, drug her, get her married to you.
Wouldn't fly these days.
Would never fly these days, but still great television back then. and then you get into the cerebral assassin.
That's
and
mine.
Oh my god.
I
I think we've mentioned this every episode. Just the way he can turn character. You know, even with evolution, but like the cerebral assassin, oh my god.
yeah.
It's just it's and you got to look at where he learned it all though. Who his mentors were, who his muses were. And
It makes sense.
it makes sense. You learn from the best in the business. If you're not good at your craft, you do not deserve to be in the position of power you are in at this moment. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the era that I have in place is when he's traded the sledgehammer for the shovel and buried all of WCW from 2002 to 2004. I know like it's a bit contentious for a lot of wrestling fans because like they felt that like, you know, oh my god, he buried Goldberg, oh my god, he buried Scott Steiner, Booker T. Okay, sure, but he also put over a returning Shawn Michaels, he put over Chris Benoit, he put over John Cena, he put over Randy Orton, he put over Batista. Like relax with the shovel comments like that. The if you look back, they're the right choice. Like all of the people that he put over were the right people to put over. So in terms of selfish, I don't want to hear this like he was selfish, blah, 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 whatever. Do you fault the guy for not wanting to put over the guys that worked in the company that were trying to put him out of business and take food off his plate? No, I would have some resentment too. I really genuinely would. But yeah, that era of Hunter, like the heel that could back up like his own trash talk, but yet also at the same time always just angrily escape with a victory. And you're like, oh, how did you not lose? How did you not, like, and I was like 12, 13 at the time. So I was like that impressionable, like preteen where I hated him. Like, how did you not? I was that crazy stupid kid that wanted Scott Steiner to win. God, I didn't know anything, but like he just kept narrowly escaping with the world title. He was the original Goldie holder.
Yep.
In that
exactly. And now look who Tommaso's muse is.
Yeah.
You see a lot of similarities in Tommaso from Hunter. Mm-hmm. Now here's my question for you. You know you are a good goddamn heel. How did you feel when he blew out his quad watching that?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When I watched it and I was a kid, I didn't really know what was happening.
See, I felt so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't until afterwards that like, you know, like I hated him leading up until that. And then I was like, oh my God, yes, Triple H is coming back. Woo! Like, it's just like, right? Like you it's one of those, like as a kid, you don't realize the special talent that you have before you until it's taken away.
Exactly.
But like nowadays, like I like for when we watch the footage of Seth Rollins tearing his ACL, I'm like, oh no, even though obviously he's a heel at that time, very like detestable heel. Nowadays it's like, fuck, damn it. But like as a kid, I didn't really know how to
it makes you enjoy and anticipate the pop.
Exactly.
And like that pop when Hunter came back was
legendary.
Insane. I'm not gonna say Seth's pop was as good, but when he surprised us and like buried Roman right in the middle of that ring with a pedigree, god damn was I out of my seat going nuts for that. So good.
We're gonna wrap it up here, but I have one more that I want to talk about because I got two. Let's put them together because I want to quickly discuss real heat or fabricated like fake heat. Okay, I'll give you my answer for this one. Fake heat. 2005 JBL.
Disagree.
You think he was a genuinely amazing heel?
Genuinely a great heel.
Okay.
Because I wanted to see him get his ass kicked every week. When he rode in... Okay, here's the thing. I liked Bradshaw. I genuinely liked Bradshaw. And then he came out as John Bradshaw Layfield in that big ass limo. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, where are they going with this? And I will say it was the only time in Cena's career I wanted Cena to beat the living shit out of someone. every
Okay.
week.
All right.
For me, true heat.
Interesting.
Real heat.
Yeah. See, for me, it was one of those. Dude, I want you off my screen. You and your cabinet. I want you off my screen. So here's another one, and I want you to just listen to why I'm asking this before you answer it, because the obvious answer that anyone's gonna want to blurt out is no, that's real heat. 2005, 2006, post Lita Gate Edge, going into the Ultimate Opportunist, cashing in. You know, obviously the affair with Lita and the thing with Matt Hardy getting fired. That era, a lot of people look at it with rose-tinted glasses of like, wow, Edge is such an amazing heel. Oh my God, this is where it started. What did you think of that? Because that was real life making itself known in professional wrestling. And I feel like today, I would be really uncomfortable seeing a storyline like that.
One of the first times we actually saw the fourth wall broken.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really when the internet really started to get involved with professional wrestling.
I still remember the "you fucked Matt" chants.
Yeah.
At every Edge match at the time.
Okay, so So doing our workup into this episode, every news report that I went through, Bleacher Report, NBC, CBS, and they talk about greatest heels of all time. Edge is in the top 7 for that storyline.
Mm-hmm. Well,
nothing
that's
else.
the thing.
Hold on. Nothing else written. It's just the "you fucked Matt." So, is the rated R superstar? I say no. I loved the storyline, and I love it to this day, and I would take something like that again. It's just a little too edgy for what people want to see on TV these days. Especially the sex scene in the middle of the...
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
Okay. Anyways, but no, I think one storyline does not put you in the greatest. He is a great superstar, and his body of work over time has been amazing. That 1-2 year storyline, 18-month storyline, does not make you one of the greatest heels of all time.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
No, that's fair. I think that's fair. I think it's one of the greatest heel runs. I think like that's a fairly common argument. I feel like it's one of those where like originally it was this like fake heat where people just don't like you because you were a piece of shit in real life.
Yeah.
And like that's not cool. Like people want to say like, you know, like make wrestling real. If wrestling was real, it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't. All right. Like if things get too real, like I'm out. Like I wouldn't want to see that storyline if it was real. If it was actual infidelity, like I just wouldn't want to see that. I think it's one of those where people just hated Edge because he was a piece of shit to Matt, and what he did. But to Edge's credit and to WWE Creative's credit, they were able to mold that and turn that into eventual real heat. Where it's I'll give them that, but I think that initial like, especially going into their SummerSlam match, their SummerSlam match between Matt Hardy and Edge, I don't think that was real heat. I think people just hated Edge because of what he did. But then like going out of that, you know, like holding on to the briefcase, when is he going to cash it in? You started to like, okay, we're back into make-believe land, back into like, I can start to dislike you for your character, not for your poor morals. And I think that's where I start to side with the, like, I really like that run.
Yeah, and like I said, don't get me wrong, I loved the run. It was a great heel run. But I don't think for what our platform of the show is, I don't think it's really like greatest of all time status. All right, I know you said you had 2 more. I just had 2 pop into my head that I did want to talk about because it's very unique.
Hit me.
Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Okay.
And Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
Okay. Nature Boy, greatest wrestling career up until 7-8 months ago. we can say. Argue that.
Yeah.
Will Nature Boy go down as one of the greatest heels? Because I don't remember him really being a face, except for the one promo. This is the greatest day of my life, with the blood and all that, where he won I think it was the NWA title. Okay. Now, second to that is Charlotte going to go down as the greatest female heel of all time.
Okay, let me answer the Charlotte one. Yes, because of Becky Lynch is my answer. I think that she's got her foil. She didn't have her foil. She didn't have The Rock to her Austin. She does now. And because of that, and if we can continue to get this for the next 5 to 10 years, yes, Charlotte will go down as the greatest women's heel of all time. Before that, like, she was Big Show. She was going in between. She was flip-flopping all the time. Yeah. I don't ever want to see face Charlotte ever again. Ever again. Now that we have Becky Lynch back on the roster, I like the idea of keeping them in separate brands. But now that we have that foil, I don't ever want to see Charlotte face ever again. This is where we need to make her the greatest heel female of all time. In terms of Ric Flair, I actually kind of feel bad that we didn't talk about him before. Ric Flair is the only man that could literally fear for his life back in the 80s for winning a match, because people hated this man so much, so much, that he actually had to be genuinely weary that people were going to hop the barricade and kill him. I remember the story of him going to Puerto Rico. I can't remember the name of the major Puerto Rican wrestler that he faced, and it was a jam-packed stadium in Puerto Rico, wherever it was, and there was a moment where Ric Flair thought he was going to die, because there were so many people there that just wanted to see this man lose. But Ric Flair, he just didn't lose because he's the Nature Boy. But he had that charisma and aura about him where, like, and you were willing to grab money out of your wallet to see him lose. To see him lose.
And that was the biggest thing, is what fans didn't understand and why they were so mad at him, because they were drawing their hard-earned money. People out of Philly that were struggling. People out of Detroit that were struggling. People out of, like, the Bronx that were struggling. They were still willing to pay money to see this mighty rich Ric Flair come in and hopefully lose.
Yeah, they weren't paying to watch the other guy win. That's the thing. That's the masterpiece of Ric Flair. People were paying to watch him lose, and he didn't. And he didn't lose, and that's why people were just so a type of rowdy that we'll never see again. They were almost like, think, to soccer fans, think Bulgarian soccer. All right, like, where you just, like, you need to fear for your life if you're a visiting team. Right, like Eastern Europe soccer that you don't want to be a part of. That was
experienced it. I know what you're talking about.
You do not want to be a part of that. South American and Eastern European soccer, do not go to those games. If you're an away fan, you will die. That's what it felt like for Ric Flair every time he went into any country, any city, because back then the way wrestling worked is, you know, he was the traveling superstar. He would face the local hero. Whether it was going to Japan, going, like I said, to Puerto Rico. Back then, Ric Flair was the attraction. People were going to go watch him lose, but he was always facing the golden boy of that area. So not only were people upset that he wasn't losing, but they were upset that their golden boy lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways,
all right, Sandy, I think that's the best way to finish that. You nailed that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So, Santi, I have a question. Are we going to keep going?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
So go on.
No, I mean, I was gonna wrap it up, but go ahead.
Oh, what were you gonna say? Ask, what's episode 6, Santi? It's your choice. It's your choice.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't have a topic yet. Don't put me on the spot like that. I don't have a topic yet, but I'll find a solid topic for us. But Steve, where can people find you?
Guys, I'm going to keep it real short and sweet. You're going to find me at twitch.tv/Mr. Tesh and Twitter /Mr. Tesh, all the same. Santi?
Yeah, likewise, you can find me over on twitch.tv/SantiZap. As well, you can find me at any moment over on our Discord. The link to that will be in the description of this video if you're watching this on YouTube. But everybody, thank you very much for watching throughout these 5 episodes. Everybody over on the Discord, thank you very much for the questions and keeping the show alive. We really do appreciate that. And hopefully, over the next few months, we slowly started to find an audience, especially heading into WrestleMania. It's gonna be a fun ride. We'll see where this is a year from now.
Guys, I mimic everything Santi just said. I appreciate all the love and support, especially the guys over on the Discord. Make sure you guys leave a comment, share the video, and don't forget to subscribe and put the bell on for new videos. Santi and I are going to try and do a little short videos every now and again, and I'll definitely get some clips up for all the new stuff. So, Santi, thank you so much. This has been a blast. And like the shirt says, arrive, raise hell, leave. Later, guys.
Later, guys.